This project is Food Still Life. You'll be using food as a theme to paint a still life with either watercolor or acrylic on canvas. The objectives are to demonstrate the still life genre by arranging some food items on the table in a pleasing view. You'll demonstrate an arrangement that includes overlapping items, a horizontal line that implies a table edge, and you'll demonstrate shading and shadow techniques like we used in the basic shapes assignment where applicable, and you'll reflect on the successes and challenges of your painting experience. Why are we doing this? We are doing this project because still life is one of the 4 classical genres of painting, which are landscape, still life, portraiture, and non-representational. This project also gives us the opportunity to apply our knowledge of creating 3D-looking basic shapes to painting recognizable food items. The materials to gather are your chosen food items. Pick at least 3 separate items for an interesting composition: paintbrushes, a water cup, paper towel, pencil, ruler, and paint and your painting surface. And again, you can choose to do acrylic on canvas or a piece of paper, or watercolor on watercolor paper.
For the food still life assignment, I grabbed these vegetables as my theme, and I just had them handy in the fridge. So I kind of arranged them in a way that I think looks interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of height in mine, but I have a lot of width, so I'm gonna turn my paper this way, but that's up to you. I'm also gonna demo this in watercolor, but you can use acrylic paint on a canvas or acrylic paint on paper as well if you would prefer to use those paints instead of watercolor. But the first step in either kind of paint would be to get in some contour pencil sketch lines. So that's what I'm gonna do first. And I'm just trying to observe what my vegetables actually look like from the angle that I'm looking at them. So a still life really is just kind of like almost like a snapshot, like a photograph from your specific angle looking at your items. So you definitely want to take care and get your items in an arrangement that looks interesting. Okay, once you have all of your items kind of laid out, one interesting thing to do with a still life is to make your stuff look like it's sitting on a table by taking a ruler and putting a line in your composition. I think I'm gonna put my line right here. And it kind of instantly tells the viewer that your stuff is on a surface. And so now this looks like a table and like a wall behind it, or like a countertop or something like that. So it just kind of makes your stuff appear that it's not floating anymore. So no matter if you're using watercolors or if you're using acrylics, it's nice to take care of the background first. So with watercolors today, I'm gonna do a wash in the background. And if you remember that, it's just kind of like a light base color for the background. And it doesn't really matter what colors you do. Since I'm on a brown table here, I think I will do brown for my wash here. And if you remember wash, you just need very light color and use a large brush and keep your brush strokes kind of going the same direction. And this is really true for acrylic too. And then I'm going to be painting over, my items with whatever color they need to be. So it's not like so important if you accidentally get your paint where you don't want it. I'm going to do a semi-careful job, but it's not going to be the end of the world. Except for maybe on mushrooms, because I do want to keep those white. Okay, so there's no, rhyme or reason to where you start. I like to start with the things in the view that are in the front. So by my view, these mushrooms are kind of in the front, and then I'll kind of work up. So use my small brush now. I want you guys to remember your basic shape knowledge. So with basic shapes, my mushrooms are kind of like spheres, my onion is more like a sphere, my carrot and my onions right there, the green onions, are more like kind of long cylinder shapes. This kind of has some roundness to it. This kind of is all funky textured, so that'll be fun to do. But treat your items like basic shapes, and also remember shadows. So I'm going to do a little bit of black as my shadow color to kind of ground these mushrooms. And my light is kind of coming right here, so my shadows are kind of beneath the objects right here. So don't neglect incorporating shadows. So again, the carrot is basically a cylinder basic shape. And so if you give it a little hint of darker edge, especially on this bottom edge, because that would be the more shadowy edge, it'll look kind of rounded. If you treat each small item like its basic shape, like these are each small cylinders, so it should have some shading on the darkest side of it. I don't love the color green in these packs that you guys got. It's a really bright green, and I don't think it's very earthy for like natural items like plants and vegetables. So if you feel like adding a little bit of brown on top of your green, that's what I'm doing right now to just kind of give it a more earthy vibe. Okay, I'm gonna wait for mine to dry and I might add a few pen lines, but that is pretty much the process right there.